What's something you found out your daughter was doing that broke you? My daughter Khloe was 14, and honestly, she was doing great. Good grades, nice friends, and she had this babysitting gig every Friday night for our neighbor, Mrs. Williams. Every Friday, same routine. Khloe would grab her backpack with snacks and homework, walk 3 houses down to the Williams place around 6 o'clock, and come home by 10:30. Mrs. Williams always walked her back with a flashlight since it got dark. Perfect setup. Last Friday, I got off work early for once. Figured I'd surprise Khloe with Chipotle, her favorite. She'd been talking about their new chicken bowl all week. So I grabbed 2 bowls and headed to Mrs. Williams' house around 8. The whole place was dark, like completely dark. No cars in the driveway, no lights on anywhere. I stood there confused, holding these Chipotle bags like an idiot. I rang the doorbell. Nothing. Rang it again. Still nothing. My stomach started doing this weird flip thing. I called Mrs. Williams. "Oh hey, we're actually in Florida visiting my sister this week. Haven't eaten Khloe in about 3 weeks now." 3 weeks, I just stood there on her dark porch. Phone still pressed to my ear, feeling like the ground was disappearing under me. I drove home and sat in my kitchen, staring at these cold Chipotle bowls. 10:15 came and went. 10:30. Finally, at 10:45, I heard our back door open. "Hey Dad," Khloe called out, super cheerful. "How was work?" She walked into the kitchen looking completely normal. Hair perfect, makeup still neat, backpack over her shoulder. "How was babysitting?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Good. The kids were angels tonight. Mrs. Williams even paid me extra for staying late since they got back from dinner later than usual." She was looking right at me, smiling, lying so easily it made my chest hurt. "That's nice," I said. "What did you guys do?" "Just watched movies, made popcorn, you know, the usual stuff." I nodded and let her go upstairs. Then I sat there until like 2 o'clock in the morning, just thinking. The next day, I tried asking casual questions. Where exactly had she been? She stuck to the babysitting story, said Mrs. Williams had been super busy with work stuff lately. Needed extra help. I knew I had to push harder. "Khloe, I need you to tell me the truth about where you've been on Friday nights." Her face went white immediately. "I told you babysitting. Mrs. Williams is in Florida, has been all week. Hasn't hired you in 3 weeks. She just stared at me for the longest time. Then she started crying, but not like sad crying, more like panic crying. "I can explain," she kept saying. "It's not what you think." Turned out she'd met this guy on Snapchat. His name was Kyle. She'd been going to his friend's house every Friday while the parents were out of town for work. They'd order pizza, watch Netflix, hang out. "How old is Kyle?" I asked. 17, she said immediately. Something about how fast she answered made me suspicious. I made her show me his Instagram. This guy was not 17. He had a full beard, his own apartment, pictures from bars. I scrolled through his posts and found ones from his 22nd birthday party last month. But that wasn't even the worst part. In the comments on his photos, his friends were making jokes. Stuff like Kyle always going for the young ones and dude loves his high schoolers. I screenshot everything and showed Khloe. "He told me he was 17, she whispered. I spent the next hour explaining what grooming was, how older guys target younger girls, lie about their age, buy them things, make them feel special and mature. How this wasn't her fault, but it was dangerous. She didn't want to believe me. Said Kyle was nice. Brought her dinner every time. Bought her little gifts. Never pressured her to do anything. So, I did something I probably shouldn't have. I looked up Kyle's name in our county's court records. He had a conviction from 2 years ago. Same type of situation. 19-year-old Kyle, 15-year-old girl. I printed it out and showed Khloe. She stared at that paper for like 10 minutes without saying anything. Then she completely broke down. "Dad, I'm so sorry. I thought he really liked me. I thought I was being mature." That night, I called the police, filed a report. They said since he'd been lying about his age and had a previous conviction, they'd definitely investigate. Every Friday night had been the same for months. My daughter Khloe, 14 years old, bright, funny, with a heart too big for her own good, would pack her babysitting backpack granola bars, Capri Suns, a charger, and whatever book she was reading, head to Mrs. Williams' house. Mrs. Williams was our neighbor, a sweet widow with twin 5-year-olds. Babysitting them was Khloe's little gig, her first taste of independence. She'd come home by 10:30, yawning or laughing about something silly the twins had done, and always proud of her earnings. Last Friday, I got off work early. Khloe had been craving Chipotle's new chicken bowl, so I grabbed 2 on my way home. It felt good pulling into the driveway early, excited to surprise her at 8 o'clock. I swung by Mrs. Williams to drop off dinner. But the house was dark. No car in the driveway, no lights. I rang the bell, knocked, nothing. Confused, I called Mrs. Williams. "Oh, hey," she answered cheerfully. "We're in Florida this week, visiting my sister." Haven't needed Khloe in weeks. My heart sank. "Weeks, yes," she said. "Why?" I hung up. Numb. 3 weeks. My daughter hadn't been babysitting for Mrs. Williams for 3 weeks. I drove home Chipotle untouched, waiting. 10:15, 10:30, 10:45. Finally, the back door opened. "Hey, Dad." Khloe chirped, backpack on her shoulder, hair perfect. "How was work?" I forced a smile. "How was babysitting?" "Good. The kids were angels. Mrs. Williams even paid me extra." She lied so smoothly, it broke me. I played along, let her go upstairs, then sat in the dark kitchen until 2 a.m., replaying everything. The next morning, I asked casually, "Khloe, still babysitting the same house?" "Of course," she said too quickly. "Why?" I set down my coffee. "Khloe, Mrs. Williams has been in Florida all week." "Where have you been?" Her face went pale. She stammered, then burst into tears. "I can explain. It's not what you think." She admitted it. A boy named Kyle. They'd met on Snapchat. He was 17, she said. They'd been hanging at his friend's empty house. Pizza, movies, nothing bad. "Show me his Instagram," I said. Hands trembling, she pulled it up. My blood ran cold. Kyle had a full beard. Pictures at bars. A post. From 2 weeks ago, happy 22nd, Kyle. Comments: Kyle loves his high schoolers and always going for the young ones. I turned the phone to her. She whispered, "He told me he was 17. I explained grooming. How older men lie, buy gifts, make girls feel mature. She resisted, saying he was kind, never pressured her. I dug deep, searched court records. There it was, a conviction. 2 years ago, same crime. I printed it, handed it to her. She stared for 10 minutes, then collapsed, sobbing. "Dad, I thought he liked me. I'm so sorry." I hugged her, told her none of this was her fault. That night, I called the police. With his prior conviction, they opened an investigation immediately. Kyle blocked her after police contact. She cried for days, grieving someone who wasn't real. Therapy followed. I stayed home Fridays, kept her close. A month later, police called. Kyle was arrested for violating probation. Relief hit hard. Khloe's healing now. It'll take time. But that night standing on Mrs. Williams' dark porch shattered me. I'd been steps away from losing her to someone like him now. I check in. I ask questions. I don't assume. Because danger isn't always vans or strangers. Sometimes it's a babysitting job that never was. And sometimes all it takes to save her is showing up early with a bowl of Chipotle. Story 2 at Christmas dinner. My mom raised her glass and said, 77% of your bonus goes to your sister. The other 30% will help me with heating. We all agreed. My sister smirked. My aunt whispered, it's only fair. I folded my napkin and said, understood, and made 3 quiet actions. Weeks later, they called asking why the card stopped working. You ever sit at a dinner table and realize you're not family, you're funding? It was Christmas Eve, the table glowing with candlelight and good china. We only ever saw when my paycheck made it possible. Mom had roasted the turkey. Aunt Lenora brought her famous sweet potato casserole, and my sister Ashley showed up in a brand new coat that I knew she didn't buy herself. The bonus had hit my account that morning, a 5-figure sum I'd busted my ass to earn. My boss shook my hand and said, you've outperformed every forecast. I was proud until dinner. Glasses clinketed. My mom stood up, smiling, that rehearsed smile she always used before dropping bad news wrapped in sentiment. Let's raise a toast, she said, to family, to teamwork, to sharing blessings. We've all agreed. I didn't know who we was. That's 70% of your bonus will go to help Ashley pay off her debt. And the remaining 30%, she paused dramatically, we'll cover our heating bill for the winter. I stared at her, my fort paws mid-air. My sister didn't even pretend to act surprised. She just smirked into her wine glass like she was toasting a win at a poker game. Aunt Lenora, seated beside me, leaned in and whispered, it's only fair, sweetheart. You're doing so well. I folded my napkin slowly. My hands didn't shake. I didn't yell, didn't cry. I just said one word. Understood. Then I made 3 quiet moves. I stood up, kissed my mother on the cheek, poured the rest of my wine into the poinsettia plant, and walked to the guest bedroom. 10 minutes later, I was gone. They didn't even realize I'd taken the card with me. I didn't grow up rich. We were lower middle class in a town that liked to pretend it was doing better than it was. My dad left when I was 10, and my mom pivoted instantly from loving housewife to martyr of the decade. Every bill she paid, every dinner she made became a talking point at the dinner table. And somehow, the moment I turned 16 and got my first part-time job, scooping ice cream for $7.50 an hour, I became a breadwinner. Ashley was always the sensitive one. That's how Mom justified everything. Sensitive meant she couldn't handle pressure, couldn't work retail, couldn't study too hard, couldn't be told no without spiraling. So I got the scholarships, juggled 2 part-time jobs, and later worked through college with no help. While Ashley took a break to focus on her mental health, her break lasted 6 years. She never worked more than a few weeks in a row, and every time I asked why she couldn't at least try something, Mom's response was automatic. You know, she's fragile. Meanwhile, I was burning out. My 20s were a blur of spreadsheets, double shifts, and skipped birthdays. I paid off Mom's car loan when the engine gave out. I paid Ashley's rent more times than I can count. I even co-signed her second attempt at community college, which she dropped out of 2 weeks in. Each time I tried to set a boundary, the guilt machine clicked into high gear. You're the stable one, Mom would say. It's not fair to punish her for not being like you. No, it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair that when I got promoted, nobody asked how I felt, only how much the raise was. It wasn't fair that when Ashley overdrew her bank account and needed groceries, Mom would send me tearful voicemails. Just this once, honey, think of your sister. She's really trying. I watched Ashley lie on her old couch, scrolling through influencer reels while I forwarded money I could have used for my own down payment. But I said nothing. I swallowed it. I was raised to believe that speaking up made you the problem. The worst part wasn't the money. It was the narrative that I Owed them. Every act of support turned into an obligation. I got my first real bonus 3 years ago. $5,000. I treated myself to a weekend away in the mountains. My first vacation in years. When I got back, Ashley was crying on Mom's porch. She'd missed rent again. Mom didn't ask if I could help. She handed me the overdue notice like a waitress, dropping off a check. That was the moment I started tracking it all. Every transfer, every Venmo, every loan, every bill I paid just this once. I kept a private document titled What I Gave. It passed $40,000 this past fall. And still, when Ashley bought a new iPhone on Black Friday as a form of self-care, Mom defended her. She deserves something nice. You wouldn't understand. No, I wouldn't, 'cause I'd never felt entitled to someone else's money. I worked. I budgeted. I said no to things. That was my sin. I knew how to function. And for that, I was expected to bankroll those who didn't. Then came Christmas Eve. The moment that toast happened. When Mom spoke with that smug finality, Ashley smiled like she'd just won the lottery. When Aunt Lenora had the gall to whisper, "It's only fair," I realized something. They'd stopped seeing me as a person. I was an ATM, a bonus, a salary with a pulse. That's why they didn't ask. That's why nobody looked at me when Mom made the announcement. They assumed I'd nod along. Smile, hey up, 'cause I always did. But not this time. It's not after what I'd learned. The week before I got a call from an old coworker. "Hey," she said, "is your sister applying for that wellness grant at our nonprofit?" "What grant?" I asked, confused. "The hardship grant. She listed you as her financial support, said she's your dependent and that your family situation has been draining you emotionally. Said you're on the edge of a breakdown." She gave some really personal details. I asked for a copy of the application, and there it was. Ashley had used my name, my job title, and even quoted texts I'd sent her out of context to paint herself as a victim in need of a $7,500 emergency award. Claimed I was emotionally unstable and abusive. Claimed Mom had enabled an unhealthy dynamic of financial dependence. I sat with that for hours, staring at the PDF, rereading every lie. That was the night I decided no more. And Christmas dinner was the final confirmation I needed. So, I made 3 quiet moves that night. Not dramatic, not loud, but they were irreversible. 2 weeks passed. No one called to thank me. No one asked how I felt. No one even checked in. They just kept using the card like always. Groceries. Ashley's favorite overpriced skincare. A surprise treat-yourself brunch for her and her friends that ran $212. They thought I'd fold it again, but the silence was my answer. Let them run wild with my money one last time. And then it happened. It was a Thursday night when my phone rang. Mom's number. "Sweetheart," she said, voice tight. "The card isn't working," I said, clicking open the banking app. Strange. Ashley was screaming in the background. Her card declined at the pharmacy. Mom barked. She needed her medication, you said. The card was good through next year. I muted the line. I needed a second to breathe to stop myself from laughing. Then I unmuted. I canceled it. Silence. "Excuse me." Mom's voice rose an octave. "What do you mean canceled it?" "I mean I closed the account, froze all the authorized users, took back my name, my funds, my peace. What is wrong with you?" She snapped. "You knew we needed that money. You knew Ashley has payments. Do I?" I replied calmly. "Because last time I checked, Ashley was applying for wellness grants, claiming I was mentally unstable and financially, emotionally overwhelming." Silence again. Long cold. "How did you?" "I have a copy of the application," I cut in. including the quote she lifted from my text about needing therapy because I'm tired of being the family ATM. She told your nonprofit friends I was unstable and emotionally pressuring for $7,500. That's not, she didn't. She did. And you raised your glass to it at Christmas dinner. I heard a muffled sob. Could have been Mom. Could have been Ashley. Didn't matter. I wasn't done. You didn't ask me. I said, voice rising. You didn't ask Mom? You announced it like I was a human piggy bank, and you thought I'd nod. You all did. You're overreacting. Ashley's voice shrieked in the background. No, I said, I'm finally reacting. That weekend, I drove over with a banker's box. Mom opened the door in her slippers. Eyes puffy. What's this? Receipts, I said, placing the box on the table. Every transaction from the last 5 years. Every rent payment, every cosign, every grocery run, every overdraft fee, I covered for Ashley. $43,722. Ashley came downstairs in a hoodie. Are you trying to humiliate me? No, I said. You already did that to yourself. I pulled out a printed copy of the grant application. This alone could have gotten me flagged for a workplace wellness review. You told strangers I was emotionally unstable and abusive for money. Ashley crossed her arms. You don't understand what it's like. Oh, I do. I understand perfectly. You want my money, my labor, my silence. You just don't want me unless I'm useful. Aunt Lenora was there too. She tried to butt in. Don't air this out. Like what? I snapped. Like Ashley didn't lie for money. Like my mother didn't offer up my bonus without permission. Mom sank into a chair. We were desperate. No, I said, taking out one last envelope. I was desperate for years. Desperate for someone to ask if I was okay. Desperate for a thank you. Desperate for a single Christmas where I wasn't reduced to a transaction. I opened the envelope and slid out a check. Final contribution, I said. $1,000. Use it for Heat or Ashley's prescriptions or whatever else you deem only fair. But after that, we're done. Ashley scoffed. You're cutting off your own family over money. No, I said slowly. I'm cutting off my family because they treated me like money. I walked toward the door. Mom followed, tears in her eyes. You're really doing this? I turned to face her. You raised me to believe family means showing up, helping, caring. I did that. I bent over backwards for this house, and it broke me. I took a breath. Now I'm building something else. Ashley shouted something behind me. I didn't hear it, and Lenora tried to guilt me. I didn't listen. I stepped outside, closed the door behind me, and for the first time in a decade, I didn't feel guilty. Not even a little. They thought it was just another tantrum, that I'd cool off, slink back, and quietly resume my role as the family's silent financial spine. They didn't even process the depth of what had happened. They were so used to my compliance that they mistook my silence for sulking. Not a decision, not a boundary, not war, until the cold hit. The heating bill went unpaid. Ashley's rent bounced. Mom's groceries were declined at checkout. The pharmacy refused to fill Ashley's prescription until she paid the balance from last month. That's when started getting messages. Not calls at first, but guilt-laced texts. Are you okay? I know things got heated. Ashley is under a lot of pressure. You know that? Then came the voice messages. Soft, broken voice on my voicemail. Oh, sweetheart, your sister's card isn't working. She's in tears at the pharmacy. I'm using space heaters. We need you. Ashley's tone wasn't broken. It was furious. You're really punishing us like this? What is wrong with you? You can't just shut everything down. We're your family. I let them shout into the void. I didn't answer a single message. 3 weeks in, a final blow. Ashley tried to tag me in a Facebook post about toxic relatives who play the victim after exploiting your vulnerability. I laughed, blocked her, unfriended everyone connected. My social media became a wasteland. And the first time that felt safe. But they still didn't stop. Ashley sent a legal notice. A half-baked, desperate attempt to sue me for emotional damages. Accused me of financial abandonment, weaponizing money, and destabilizing the household. I didn't panic. I called a lawyer. We presented everything. Screenshots, bank records, the fraudulent grant application where Ashley described me as emotionally erratic and financially coercive. All to secure $7,500 from a wellness nonprofit. I had messages where she bragged about finally getting free cash for once. The judge dismissed it in 10 minutes. But I wasn't done because just when I thought I had seen the worst, there was a knock at my door. Not Ashley, not Mom. My father, the one who left us when I was 10. The one who never called, never wrote, and showed up once for Ashley's high school graduation with a weak apology and a Target gift card. Now he stood there with a coffee in one hand and a file folder in the other. "You got a minute?" he asked. I stared, then nodded. He sat on my couch, glanced around. "You did all right for yourself," he muttered. "Better than I expected." I didn't answer. Then he opened the folder. Inside was a copy of a trust document, my name. On it, his signature, a balance, $10,000. "You were supposed to get this when you turned 25, he said. "I left it for both of you. You and Ashley. Equal shares. Your mom. She told me you didn't want it, that you were refusing to speak to me." My stomach dropped. "What?" "She said you were unstable, angry, that you told her never to mention me. She even said you threatened to call the police if I reached out." I couldn't breathe. "She said you were volatile." "She lied." "I know." He said, "I found out last month. She used her half to pay off Ashley's debts. Credit cards alone, even paid for some ridiculous Reiki retreat." I sat there stunned for years. I believed the distance was mine, that I'd closed the door on my father. That maybe I was broken, vindictive, cold. But now I saw the truth. Mom wanted the narrative that made me the villain. Because villains don't get help. Villains don't deserve inheritances. "She told you I was dangerous." He nodded slowly. "You weren't the problem, son. You were the threat to her system." And in that moment, I realized I had been fighting shadows for years. I thought I was healing from absence, but I was bleeding from betrayal. I took the folder, closed it gently. "I'm sorry," he said. "Wasn't much of a father, but I didn't want this." He stood to leave. At the door, he turned back. "You were always the strong one, even when you were a kid. I should have seen that. Should have stayed." I nodded. "Me too." The next day, I wrote a statement. It wasn't a reply. It was a declaration, a severance, a final bill. I printed 3 copies. One for Mom, one for Ashley, and one for the nonprofit Ashley had lied to. Each copy included a detailed list of every dollar I'd sent over the last 5 years, totaling over $44,000. Screenshots of text messages where Ashley called me a gullible idiot who will always pay. Proof of the trust fund. My stolen inheritance. And finally, the grant application she'd filled out with my name dragged through the mud. I included a final paragraph. "You do not own me. You do not control me. I am not your safety net, your scapegoat, or your financial plan. From this moment forward, I owe you nothing, and I expect nothing in return. Consider this the last communication you will receive from me." 3 days later, I got a letter in return. Not from Ashley, not from Mom, from the nonprofit. They had revoked Ashley's grant. They had opened an investigation into fraudulent applications. They apologized profusely. They offered me therapy resources. They said, "We believe you." And I broke down crying at my kitchen table. It didn't end there. 2 weeks after that, Aunt Lenora knocked on my door. No makeup, no fur coat, just a wrinkled envelope and red eyes. "I didn't know," she said quietly. "I swear I just believed your mom." I always believed her. She handed me the envelope. Inside, a handwritten note. "I'm sorry for the dinners, for the whispers, for saying it's only fair when it wasn't. You were never selfish. You were strong, and we were too cowardly to admit it. If you don't forgive me, I understand. But I'm done pretending." They're right. I didn't cry. I just hugged her. The first real hug I'd had from a family member in years. Now I live in a small loft with a second-hand bookshelf and a growing record collection. I joined a boxing class. I sleep through the night. I smile without guilt. Ashley still posts passive-aggressive memes. Mom sends emails through burner accounts. I delete them because I finally understand. I wasn't the problem. I was the solution they didn't want. And now I'm the freedom they can't stand. It's strange how quiet life becomes when you stop begging people to hear you. There's no more ringing. Phone, no more overdraft alerts. No more long, bitter voicemails that start with, "We need to talk." The silence is a symphony. I wake up now when I want to. I sip coffee that I bought with my own money, in my own cup, in my own space. There's no tension in the walls, no invisible pressure down on my chest, no sense that someone's going to demand something the second I walk through the door. I moved the spreadsheet into a locked folder, labeled it Exhibit A. I don't need to open it anymore. The numbers don't define me. The years of servitude aren't my legacy. They're the reason I have one now. Ashley hasn't contacted me since the nonprofit pulled her grant. She posted a cryptic story on Instagram about fake allies and people who can't handle your truth. Last I heard, she's back living with Mom, working part-time at a yoga studio, still claiming she's finding herself. I hope she does, but I won't be there when she does. Mom tried once more, sent a typed letter, a real one with my name spelled right. No lipstick stains, no perfume. Just think on paper. I never realized how deeply we failed you. I thought I was doing what mothers do, protecting the vulnerable. But I forgot that you were vulnerable too. I let you carry us, and then I blamed you when you collapsed. It wasn't an apology, not fully, but it was more than I'd ever gotten. I didn't respond because that letter wasn't for me. It was for her. A box she needed to check. A cleanse. Let her cleanse herself. I'm already clean. And as for Dad, he sends postcards now. Just short ones. A photo of a pier. A drawing of a boat. A scribbled thinking of you. Hope you're still boxing. One time he sent a check for $500 with a note that said, "Buy something unnecessary." I framed that one, not the money, the note. Because for the first time in my life, someone gave without strings. Without guilt, without, we all agreed, echoing in the background. Even Aunt Lenora came back around. She invited me to Christmas this year, said she'd understand if I said no, but wanted me to know that she left Mom's orbit. That she finally saw it, that she missed me, not the role I played. I said, maybe next year. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd stayed silent, if I'd let that Christmas toast pass. If I'd smiled, clink it in my glass, handed over the money, and swallowed the insult like I always did. Would Ashley have gotten her grant? Would Mom still think she was right? Would I still be suffocating in the role they wrote for me? Maybe, but I didn't. I said, understood. And I made 3 quiet moves that shattered a system built on my silence. That night, I lost a family, but I found peace. And that's the twist no one saw coming. I didn't burn bridges. I just turned off the autopay. So, if you're reading this and you're the strong one, the responsible sibling, the reliable child, the quiet paycheck who never says no, listen to me. They see your silence as permission. They will over-really on you. Smile while they do it and call it love until you stop them. And when you do, when you finally say, no, not anymore, they will call you selfish, cruel, unstable, ungrateful. Let them. Because one day you'll sit at your own table, in your own home, with your own name on the mailbox, and you'll realize something they never wanted you to know. You were never the problem. You were the solution they couldn't control.